So the benefit of seniority that we possessed from Chris Cannon is gone. That's the simple truth. It's not about whether Chris Cannon's a good guy or a bad guy, or whether Leavitt's a good guy or a bad guy. The time to replace an honorable person is when his influence is the least. So that when the next honorable person comes, he can garner the influence and the seniority while you're in the minority. Second point, being in the minority requires special tools. It requires the ability to persuade. Now, Chris Cannon is an honorable person, but he has had a little different style than I have. When you're in the minority, you need a different set of tools. You need someone who can persuade someone in the majority to come over to your side. Now, I've been a defense lawyer half my life, half my career. The other half of my career, I've been a prosecutor. Half my career, I've been a defense lawyer. The role of the defense lawyer during these times is what's critical, because when you're a defense lawyer, it's you against the government. And your job is to persuade the police, the prosecutor, the judge, and everybody else in that government that they need to move your way. That's what kind of congressman we need in the minority, is someone that can persuade through logic and civility that conservative principles rule. Next point. We've talked a lot about seniority, but I'll tell you, seniority is overrated. I used to think that seniority was everything. But consider the following points. Go to congress.org. The power rankings of congressmen that detail from an independent source who has influence and who doesn't have influence. Chris Cannon went into Congress in 1996. He went into Congress the day that Roy Blunt went into Congress. Roy Blunt, 3 terms into it, or 6 years into it, became the majority whip, the second most powerful person in the Republican Party in Congress. John Boehner went into leadership after his 3rd term. Andrew Putnam from Florida, the youngest Republican in Congress at the ripe old age of 34, I think, is the 4th or 5th most influential Republican in Congress. My point is this, that seniority will give you a ranking chairmanship, but it doesn't give you influence. Influence comes when you work inside the body, and you can work with people like Sheldon talks about, and you can gather your support, and people listen to you. Now, the reason, and this is the main reason why I'm running against Chris. Everything else, those are subsets. The main reason is because there are 2 kinds of congressmen, and I think that it follows that there are 2 kinds of people. There are people in Congress who are voters. They go and they vote the right way most of the time. You may disagree with them once in a while, but they vote the way you'd vote. And the reality is that every person in this room could vote the right way in Congress, and every person in this room has the capacity to be a very honorable congressman. But we don't need a voter in Congress. We need an influencer in Congress. We need someone who can say, in Utah we balance our budgets. In Utah we believe in self-reliance. In Utah we believe in families. And then go and take those principles and influence them across the entire body. Because this is not about what Utah can get when it sends someone to Washington. This is about Utah's obligation to send someone to Washington that has the ability to change the entire body. Now, the die is set with Chris Cannon. He's been there 12 years, and he is garnering his seniority, but he's a voter. He ranks 318 out of 435 in influence on the power rankings. Is that a bad thing to say about him? It's not a bad thing to say about him at all. It's just the way it is. Let's find someone who will be a voter, but let's also find someone who will be an influencer. that's the key of this election. And I appreciate you asking the question. Chris Cannon's a good man, but we need someone different. This is not about David Leavitt. This is not about Chris Cannon. This is about sending someone who will represent Utah's values, and not only represent them, but overlay them with influence over the nation.